On June 13, 1944, the U.S. Navy began bombarding the island of Saipan in the Japanese-held Mariana Islands in the Pacific. They were softening up Japanese defenses for an invasion. After 2 days of shelling, 8,000 Marines hit the western beaches. Among them was Private First Class Guy Gabaldon, a Mexican-American from California, about to enter his first battle of the war.
It was 8:45 in the morning that we hit the beach. It was hot and heavy and furious. Bullets hitting the sand all around you. I saw a body, Marines had just been hit. And I froze. But you know, I wasn't scared. I froze, and it wasn't fear. It was, I said, what am I doing here? I should be back in LA in the bowling alley.
Born in 1926, Guy Gabaldon grew up in East Los Angeles, then a diverse neighborhood of Mexican, Japanese, Jewish, and Armenian families. He was a street-smart kid who tended to get into trouble.
You're scrappy, pugnacious, and even before your teens, when your gang gets into a fight, you always pick the biggest fella to tackle yourself. Once after you have your nose broken in a fight, you have to go to the hospital to have it fixed. And what happened the night you came out of the hospital?
I was broken again.
You got into another fight and got it broken all over again.
Gabaldon's bravado masked a deep curiosity about the world. In school, he grew close to some of his Japanese classmates and their families. But that came to an end in the months following Pearl Harbor, when the U.S. government interned over 100,000 Japanese, more than half of them U.S. citizens. With his friends interned, Guy celebrated his 17th birthday by joining the Marines. Though too short and having a perforated eardrum, he talked his way in, claiming to be fluent in Japanese. In truth, he had only picked up a little. But it led to a job as a scout for an intelligence unit during the attack on Saipan. The day after the invasion, while others set up an observation post, he slipped out beyond the front lines to the north.
I took off on my own and went into Japanese territory, and I came back with a couple of prisoners, and my commanding officer, Captain John Schwabe, he's one hell of a nice guy. He says, don't you ever do that again. You're not a prima donna, you're not going to work on your own. I said, yes, sir. Very good, sir. And that night, I filled my pockets with ammunition, and I went back to Japanese territory.
On his own, Gabaldon captured a dozen more Japanese soldiers.
So I returned to American lines with a whole mess of Japanese prisoners. And he says, well, what the hell, let the little kid go. He said, let the little jerk go, he's getting the results. So I went on my own. I chose where and when and how I was going to fight the Japanese.
The American invasion gradually pushed north, with the Japanese taking advantage of volcanic caves to hide during the day and attack at night. Approaching those caves became a Gabaldon specialty.
I'd sneak up and get to the side of the mouth of the cave and toss a frag grenade in and kill a bunch of them. Sometimes one guy would come out, I'd have my carbine right on him, and I said, I don't want to kill you. Tell your buddies to come on out. I assure you, we're not going to harm you. If you don't, I said, I've got a bunch of Marines behind all those trees there. I had no one. I was alone. I said, you're all going to die. And, you know, it would work. I conned him into surrendering.
Gabaldon racked up more and more captured soldiers. The remaining Japanese were growing desperate. Cut off on the island, from all military support. In early July, they tried a final Banzai attack, the largest of the war, and it failed. The surviving Japanese, pushed all the way north, occupied caves in the cliffs along the shore.
Right there at the cliffs, I took a couple of prisoners and sent one down to get some more, and a few would come up 10, 15, 20, and I said, oh my God, when's this going to end? Before I knew it, in 4 hours, I had 800 prisoners. 2 Marines saw me. Couldn't believe what they were seeing. And here was this one Marine walking back and forth among all the Japanese. And they said they couldn't figure out what the hell was happening. So then they finally came down. I said, get your ass on back and get some help. I said, immediately before they turned on me.
Guy Gabaldon would be credited with bringing in over 800 prisoners that day, an unmatched feat for a single soldier in U.S. military history.
I'm 77 years old, and I look back and I say, did this really happen?
His wartime career came to an end just weeks later with a machine gun wound to his arm and hand. All told on Saipan, he'd killed 33 enemy soldiers and captured over 1,500.
Here is the way it was.
16 years later, those remarkable exploits were turned into a movie, Held to Eternity.
The amazing true story of Guy Gabaldon, the Marine who captured more than 1,000 enemy prisoners single-handed.
At 5'4", Gabaldon was played by a 6-foot Anglo, Jeffrey Hunter. That he was Latino never made it onto the screen. Sadly, a metaphor for the way many Americans would soon forget the role of Latinos in World War II. There was Navy sailor Hector Acedo, who survived the torpedoing of his ship off the coast of South Africa. And there was Jose Zaragoza of the Coast Guard. He spent 15 months on a lonely atoll in the Pacific, sending out navigation signals to ships. There was Pedro del Valle, the first Puerto Rican to reach the rank of Major General, when he took command of the 1st Marine Division in October 1944. And Carmen Contreras Bozak of the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, the WACS. She'd ship out for Algiers to work a teletype, transmitting encoded messages to the battlefield. And then there was Private Joe P. Martinez, killed leading a successful charge against a key Japanese defensive position when the Allies retook the Aleutian Islands. Posthumously, Martinez would be awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. By the war's end, 10 other Latinos would earn one as well. In proportion, more than any other ethnic group. Exemplary service that many hoped would end the discrimination Latinos faced back home.
Mexican Americans had a second-class status in American society, but also Mexican Americans believe in the United States so much that they volunteer in record numbers and serve in record numbers. And there is an expectation on their return that because of their service, because they have risked their lives for their country, that the country will welcome them, that they will acknowledge that, yes, you are full-fledged members of American society. And it doesn't exactly work out that way.
When the long war finally came to an end in 1945, one returning veteran said, Mexican-American soldiers shed at least a quarter of the blood spilled at Bataan. What they want now is a decent job, a decent home, and a chance to live peacefully in the community.